Good morning, Class 3 and Class 4. Welcome to your reading session for today. We are going to carry on reading Ruby Finds a Worry. So, let's carry on. The funny thing was that no one else could see Ruby's worry, not even her teacher. So Ruby pretended that she couldn't see it either. She tried to carry on as if everything was normal, but it just wasn't. The worry was always there, stopping her from doing the things that she loved. Ruby wondered if the worry would ever go away. What if it didn't? What if it stayed with her forever? Ruby didn't realise it, but she was doing the worst thing you can ever do with a worry. She was worrying about it. Now the worry was enormous. It could barely fit in the kitchen at dinner time. It filled up half the school bus, and it took up whole rows at the movie theatre. The worry became the only thing that Ruby could think about, and it seemed like she would never feel happy again. Then, one day, something unexpected happened. Ruby noticed a boy sitting alone at the park. He looked how she felt, sad. And then she noticed something else, something hovering next to him. Could it be a worry? Okay, so some questions for you today. Number 1, on page 12, why do you think the colours have been used the way they have in the pictures? So I want you to have a look, and hopefully you'll pick up straight away that there's something unusual about the picture. Maybe it's black and white, maybe it's a mixture, maybe it's colourful. I won't tell you, but have a look and what do you think? Number 2, find a word or phrase which suggests that Ruby is not happy anymore. Number 3, why do you think the worry is getting bigger? Number 4, what word does the author use that means hanging over? And number 5, what do you think might happen next in the story? So make your prediction. Pause me while you answer the questions, and then when you're ready, come back and we will go through the answers together. Okay, let's have a look. Hopefully we've all had a go at those. So number 1, it was what do you think? So I've put a few ideas that you might have, but you might have thought something completely different. And as it was your thoughts, that is absolutely fine. But some things you might have gone for was the fact that the whole page is dark. It's in black and white, apart from Ruby and her worry. So you might have thought the colours are dark because when you have something to worry about, it can take over, and that is why that is the only bit of colour. When you are worried that the world may seem darker, the only thing in colour is the only thing Ruby can think about, her worry. So the word or phrase which suggests that Ruby is not happy anymore, there was 2 you could have picked. One was stopping her from doing the things she loved, and the other was it seemed she would never be happy again. So if you put either of those, that's great. Why do you think the worry is getting bigger? So Ruby is trying to pretend it's not there, so she's not dealing with it. She's worrying about her worry, and therefore it gets bigger, because the more you worry, the bigger the worry becomes. Number 4, what word does the author use that means hanging over? He uses the word hover. And then your prediction, that is completely up to you. When we read the next part, you'll find out if you are correct. So we are going to finish off Ruby Finds a Worry tomorrow. I look forward to speaking to you then. Bye.
Good morning, Class 3 and 4. We're on Tuesday, the 16th of June, 2020. So pause it now so you can get the date written in your book, and then we will carry on with today's learning. Okay, so we're continuing with our grammar on paragraphs. So we're going to do a little bit of reasoning and fluency practice to check that we are still understanding how and when we use paragraphs before looking at the piece of writing we'll be doing this week. So here we have Amelia. She's written some sentences below. And then we're going to have a look at whether these sentences have been written in logical order, and we're going to have a go at depicting why or why not she has done that. Okay. It was tatty and torn and looked like it travelled a long way. The envelope arrived with a strange address on it. Looking at it further, this had somehow been sent to another country and had luckily been forwarded on. Okay, so think about those sentences there. So I think there's 3 sentences, are they in a logical order? So not necessarily in the order that it happens, but in an order that makes sense for the reader to fully understand what is happening. Is there a better way it could have been, or is that fine how it is? So have a little think. You don't have to write anything down, but pause it now whilst you try and work out if you want to have a go at reading the sentences in a different order to see which one makes more sense. Then you can do that as well. Okay, and then press play when you are ready to discuss the answer. Okay, so no, these sentences haven't really been written in a logical order, so it doesn't really make sense. It's quite difficult to work out what exactly is happening here. Okay, so you may have had a go at rewriting the a more logical order. So here's an example. It would have made more sense to start with the sentence, "The envelope arrived." So that would tell your reader exactly what this paragraph is about. So it's about the envelope. The envelope arrived, and then that way it's clear what it is referring to. In the next sentence, it was tatty and torn. So in that first sentence at the moment, it was tatty and torn and looked like it travelled a long way. We don't know what that noun it, or the pronoun it, is referring to. If it had started with "the envelope arrived with a strange address on it," we would have then known that the author is referring to the envelope being tatty and torn. But however, because they put that sentence second, it isn't very clear with that first one what is happening there. Okay, so carrying on from that same theme there about a letter and an envelope arriving, I've got a little letter to share with you today. Okay, so I'm going to read it out, and what I want you to do is have a look at the paragraphs that have been used in this letter, and I want you to think about what is the main idea that's happening in each paragraph. Okay, so I'm going to read it out to you, and then we're going to have a think about the paragraphs afterwards. Dear Uncle Andrew, how have you been over the last few months? I can't believe how long it's been since we saw you. Hopefully the lockdown will be over soon, so you can come and stay for the weekend, or we can visit you. I haven't been at school for a long time now, but I am still learning lots. At home, I've been watching virtual lessons from my teachers and completing my work in my book. It's really strange and very different to how we normally learn, but I've been trying my best. How has your work been? I know you work in a big shop that sells food. Have you got those giant transparent plastic screens up everywhere? Do you have to wear gloves and a mask? I bet it's nice that you still get to see your friends at work though. Do you get to hug them and have your lunch together? Anyway, I hope you're well and we can see each other soon. Stay safe. Love, from Joe. So have a look, think, who is the author of that and who is the audience of that piece of writing? We know it's a letter, so think about the features that we can recognise within this piece of writing. We can tell straight away it is a letter because it's addressing somebody within that first sentence, Dear Uncle Andrew, so we know that is who is intended to read it. We know it's from Joe. If he's calling Andrew his uncle, then Joe's probably his nephew. What else do we know about Joe? We know that he's at school. We don't know whether it's primary or secondary, but by the sounds of it, it sounds like he's in primary. And he has written his letter and he's used paragraphs. So we've been talking about paragraphs, and we can see that there's 1, 2, 3, and then we have a little signing off sentence there at the end. Okay, so this author has shown, Joe has shown these paragraphs by just leaving a line in between each one. It makes it much easier, so when Uncle Andrew reads this letter, he'll be able to enjoy it much more because it's been broken down into these smaller chunks. It's not just one massive piece of writing without being separated into paragraphs. Okay. We also can see that he's used first person, so because it's written from Joe, he has used I. He hasn't said Joe hasn't been at school for a long time. He said I haven't been at school for a long time. Now when we're writing letters, in terms of the tense that we write in, it's quite difficult because as you're writing a letter, you're writing about things that are happening now, but you're also talking about things that have happened in the past. So here is a perfect time to be using present perfect tense. Okay, so year 4, year 3, you guys will definitely know, I know year 4 guys, when we learnt about this last year, and I was very honest in that present perfect tense baffled me, so we learned about that together. Year 3, we have got some actions, haven't we, for present perfect tense, and one of the best ways to remember it is when we have are using that combination of have been or have not been. So have being present and been being past. So present perfect tense. It's usually when we're referring to experiences or talking about things that have happened recently in the past. So how have you been? I haven't or have not been at school for a long time now, but I am still learning a lot. So the tense kind of changes throughout. It's a bit of present, a bit of present perfect, and a bit of future tense there, but I'm still learning lots. I have been watching my virtual lessons from my teachers and completing my work in my book. And how's your work been? And lovely, yes. Yeah, so in this throughout these paragraphs, we have got a range of different sentence types. We've got some questions here. We've got some exclamations, well, exclamation marks, and not necessarily exclamation sentences. But we are showing lots of emotion here as well. So I have been trying my best. So that's really nice to see. We've got this last paragraph here is focusing a lot on questions. So what I'd like you to do today for your task, our learning objective is going to be to summarise the paragraphs within a letter. Alright, so these are our 3 paragraphs within that letter. And now what I want you to do for your task today is, in your book, can you give a brief summary of each paragraph? So what do we find out in each paragraph? What do you think is the main topic of that paragraph? What's the main point that the writer, Joe, is trying to get across to Andrew, his uncle? So in your book, you can, after your date and your LO, you can simply write number 1 and give me a summary of the first paragraph, number 2, give me a summary of the second paragraph, and number 3, give me a summary of the third paragraph. Okay, and that is it. And we'll be moving on and continuing to look at this tomorrow and the rest of the week as well. Okay, so enjoy that then, guys. Have a little go. Please don't stress. Remember, if you're struggling with it or if you don't quite get it, that's absolutely fine. Just have a go. What's the main idea that Joe is trying to give Uncle Andrew in each of these paragraphs? Okay, I will see you tomorrow, guys. Bye. Good morning, class 3 and 4. We're going to go through yesterday's answers before moving on to today's learning. Okay, so you were having a look at partitioning and representing numbers to begin with yesterday's part of your Do It. So there could have been a really simple way that you partition these numbers, or if you wanted to challenge yourself, they might be slightly different. Now there could be, there's lots and lots and lots of different variations. So what I'm going to do is just quickly show you with my purple pen the sort of simple partitioning that you may have done. So we've got 72, we could have partitioned that into 70, which is 7 tens and 2 units. You could have exchanged one of those tens for units. You could have had 60 and 12. You could have had 61 and 1. 61 and 11. There's lots of different ways, but I'll just pop down here some of the main ones that you may have come up with. Now here I only put 2 parts. Doesn't mean you only have to do 2 parts. You could have done 3. If you wanted to stick with just doing 2 though, you could have done 500 and oh dear, 580. Oh, 8's are very hard to draw with a mouse. You could have done 580 and 4, or you could have done 580 and 4, or you could have done 250, 250, 84. You could have partitioned it like that. Here you could have done 2,000. Oh my goodness, 2,000. Oh gosh. Much easier than I could do it with my finger on my screen, but I can't on this laptop, unfortunately, and my microphone is broken on the one I can do that on. So 740 and 5. So that would have been a nice simple way of doing it, but again, you might have challenged yourself to play around with some of those numbers. So well done if you did. I'm sorry I can't go through every single possibility, otherwise I'd be here for a very long time. Okay, I can type this one out, that'll be easy to do here. So ordering these numbers in ascending order, so you need to start with the smallest number, which would have been 209, then 292, then 902, then 2090, then 3,920. Okay, and then over here where you were rounding these numbers, you could have set it out like we did when we were practicing it. Just make these smaller. So you just had two answers for each of these numbers because you're rounding to the nearest 10 and the nearest 100. So 472 to the nearest 10 would have been 470, and then to the nearest 100 would have been 500. Okay. So year 3, if you just focus on your tens and units, so 72 to the nearest 10 would have been 70. And then over here, we've got 8. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Sorry. Okay, so we've got 831 to the nearest 10 would have been rounding down to 830, and then to the nearest 100 would have been rounding down again to 800. And then 3,628 rounding to the nearest 10 would be 3,630. Oops. And then rounding to the nearest 100 would have been rounding down again 3,600. So well done if you got those, and year 3, well done if you had a go at rounding with those numbers. Remember, do not stress if you did not get it right. Okie dokie, so over here then, for your secure it, we had our whole number, which was 462. We had one part there, and we had to find that missing part here. So really, you were just finding the difference between 462 and 130. Now, you could have added other parts to that if you wanted to. To simply finish off this one, you could have thought, what do you need to add to 130 to get 462, which would have been 362, and we can double check that by just quickly adding that together. So 300, 460, add your 10, 362, 332, sorry. Yeah, so when you add that together, so your 300 and 100 is 400, 30 and 30 is 60, 2 units add 0 is 2. So your missing number there would have been 332. If you wanted to do an extra part here, you just have to partition 332 between those two parts if you wanted to. If you did it just this way, that would have been your missing answer. So well done if you got that. So today's learning then, we're on 16th of June, and we're going to be recapping some addition and subtraction. So again, I've tried to get a bit of both of year 3 and 4 in here. Year 4, all of this will be helpful anyway for you. It's just really nice to recap these things. And then year 3, there'll be some extra challenge in there for you with some of the year 4 bits that I've popped in here as well. Okay, so just as a nice, so pause it now then so you can write the date and LO, and then press play when you're ready. Okay, so I've got a nice little warm-up here for us to get us in the right frame of mind for adding and subtracting. So I've got 2 calculations or number sentences. It says here we've got 300, then we're adding, and then this number is represented in 100 counters. So I've got 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. So 300 add 500 equals what? What would that equal? Okay, hopefully you can shout that out to me. And that is, so we've got 500, 600, 700, 800. Okay, so sometimes when we're adding and subtracting, we didn't need to do the column method for that. It was very simple. They're all in multiples of 100. We just simply had to add them together. We have 3, add 5, 300s, add 500s is 800. Okay, now here, they've tried to trick you because our equal symbol is here. So this is actually going to be your answer to the calculation. Now something, sorry, I said something. I can see that that's 300s, there are 100 squares there. So that's 300, take away 200s equals what? So 300 and then take off 2 of those hundreds. So if I was to cross off 2 of those, that's not very helpful. Cross off 2 of those. What have I got left? 100. Really nice, quick, easy warm up there. Okay, so just another reminder that you don't always have to use the column method or a written method when adding and subtracting. Sometimes you can just do it mentally and just use what you know. Alright, so blue problem here. Year 3, I'd like you to have a quick pause and have a quick go at that in your book. Year 4, I've got a problem there for you. I'd like you to have pause the video now and have a quick go at that. Year 3, when you finish that, if you want to have a go at that, by all means do. It's an extra challenge there for you. But if that's good enough for you, that's fine, leave it there. So pause it now so you can have a go at that. Okay, so year 3, so you've got your whole amount there, so think about what that whole amount equals. Which two amounts go together to make that? We've got 300 there, and then there's a number missing. So what would be the subtraction calculation to go with that, and what would be the answer? Then year 4 over here, starting with the number below, complete the calculation. So work out what number's being represented there. Then can you add 3000, subtract 50, and add 200? What is the final answer? So have a go at that now, and press pause. Okay then guys, so we'll start with you, year 3. So over here then, the number that we've got as a whole, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 500s, which is 500. And we're using this part whole model to write a subtraction, so we're subtracting. We know that 300 and something make 500, so what are we taking? We're taking away 300 from 500. You can simply use your fingers and imagine that each finger is worth 500, so you can use your 5 fingers and take away 300 of that. How many have you got left? 200. Okay, so purple challenge over here then. The number that's being represented, I've already written it out for you, is 2,374. The first step is to add 3,000. Okay, so straight away there, we don't need to use a written method for that because we're not adding any hundreds, tens or units, so we can simply just add that on to our thousand. So 2,000 and 3,000 is 5,000, plus we've still got the 374. Nothing changes there because we've got 0 hundreds, 0 tens and 0 units, so 374. Then it's asking us to subtract 50, so we've got 5,374 and we're subtracting 50. Again, I don't think we need to use a written method for that because we're simply taking away 5 tens. If you look at the tens that we've got 7. If you wanted to use this, we could have crossed off 5 of those tens. So 7 tens take away 5 tens is 2 tens, so we've got 5,325. And then it says to add 200, so 5,325. We're going to add 200 to that. Again, these are all lovely multiples of 10, and then hundreds and thousands, which make it really, really easy. So there's nothing difficult there in terms of adding tens and units as well. This is all stuff that we should be able to do in our head. So we're just adding 200 there, so we've currently got 300, so 300 add 200 is 500 again, which means we've got 5,000, still that's not changed, we've got 500, our tens and units haven't changed, 25. Okay, so your answer then for that one was 5,525. Well done if you got those two answers, well done if you had a go at both of those challenges, that's brilliant. Okie dokie, so again, let me just move this so you can see that better. There we go. I've got two challenges again for you, a blue challenge and the purple extra challenge. So for blue, 200 add, you've got 400 there being represented, is equal to 500s add 100. Now you're working out whether that's true or false. Okay, so again, you can have a go at this in your book. Just have a go at writing out. If I were you, I would work out that calculation. I would do 200 and 400, what does that give you? And then 500 add 100, what does that give you? And then this equal symbol here is saying that whatever that answer is equal to, equivalent to, the same as the answer to this calculation here. Is that true or is that false? Should there be a different symbol there? Okay, year 3. Year 4, by all means, if you'd like to have a go at that as a little warm-up, then you can. Over here we've got our purple challenge, so year 3 you can have a go at this one afterwards if you like. Year 4, if you want to start here, that's absolutely fine. We are having a go at just adding, again, numbers without any units or hundreds or tens. They're just simple multiples of thousands, hundreds and tens. So 4,085 add 2,000, 2,159 add 300, and 3,465 take away 70, so be careful there. But just have a go at that, just a quick arithmetic in your book to get you nice and ready for your do it and secure it in a minute. Okay, pause it now then, so you can have a go at that in your book and then press play when you are ready for the answers. Okay, so over here then, we'll start here. So we've got 200 add 400, so that's just simply 4, add 2 is 6, that means 400 add 200 is 600. Then over here we've got 500 add 100. Well, I know that 5 add 1 is 6. That means 500 add 100 is 600. Okay, so they both do have the same answer. Therefore they are equal, which means it was a true statement. Okay, well done if you got that. Over here then, for our purple challenge for year 4 and year 3 as well, if you've had a go, that's fine. 4,085 add 2,000, so we're simply just adding to our thousands. So 4 add 2 is 6, so 4,000 add 2,000 is 6,000, and then we still have 0 hundreds, we still only have 8 tens, and we still only have 5 units. Then here we've got 2,159, and we're just adding 300. We're not adding any tens, we're not adding any units, so our tens and units won't stay will stay the same. Hopefully our thousands will stay the same. So we've got 100 already, and we're just adding 3 more hundreds. 300 and 100 is 400, which means our thousands won't change, so it's still 2,000. And instead of being 100, we're adding 300s to that, so it'll be 459. The tens and units stay the same. Okay, now this may have tricked you here when we're subtracting. We've got 3,465 and we're taking away 70. Hopefully you noticed that if we're taking away 7 tens and we look straight at our tens, we haven't got enough tens. If you take away those 6 tens, you'd have 3,405, but we're taking away 70, so we need to take away another 10. So that would give us 3,395. Okay. To double check that though, I like to do the inverse because sometimes I'm not great at subtracting mentally. So just to check that, I could add 70 back onto this and I should end up with 3,465. So if I was to add a 10 to that, I would get 405, 415, 425, 435, 445, 455, 465. That'd be 70. Yeah, so that is correct. Well done if you got those, and well done again if you had to go at both of them. Do not stress if you didn't. Hopefully me working it out loud has helped. Okay, so just a quick recap then on using the written method, for sometimes if we're struggling to do it mentally, or perhaps the numbers are a bit too big, or maybe there is some exchanging that's required and you struggle to do that in your head, then we can use the written method. Okay, we also call this the column method. We can use it for addition and subtraction. So I've got here 352 at 316. I've written down here hundreds, tens and units to help me, and I've lined up my numbers to make sure that my digits are in the right place to help me. We always start with our units, so I'm not even going to bother with typing that out. I'm just going to draw it. So we always start with our units when adding or subtracting, in case we need to exchange anything. So I'm going to draw a straight line there. So we're going to start with the units. I'm going to add, I've got 2 units and I'm adding 6. So 6 add 2 is 8. If you want to pause and have a go at this before I go through it, that's absolutely fine. I'm just going to whiz through it now. Tens, we've got 5 tens and we're adding 1 10, so 5 add 1 is 6. And then hundreds, 3 of 3 is 6. Now, if you found that that's something that you can do in your head, if when you look at that calculation you know straight away you're not going to need to exchange, you can do it in your head, that's absolutely fine. But if you're not confident doing that, then use this method. That's not a problem. So your answer there would have been 668. So now we're going to do the same but for subtracting. Okay, so remember when you're subtracting, we still start with our units. We start with our top number because this is the number that we started with. This is our whole amount, the greater amount. I've got 7 units and I'm taking away 4. So remember guys, you can't swap these over. If you've got 7 cookies and you're eating 4, what have you got left? You're going to have 3 left. You can't just magically swap them round. Okay, so 7 take away 4 is 3. 4 take away 1 is 3 as well. Then 800s take away 300s is 500. So your answer is 533. So well done if you had a go at doing that before I did. Now I've got 2 calculations here where they will get a little bit trickier. This is just as a recap. If you want to pause it and have a go before I go through it and kind of go through it with me afterwards, that's absolutely fine. Pause it now. There is some exchanging. This is just a practice before you have a go at doing it on your own. Okay, so pause it if you want to have a go. If you just want a reminder, then watch me first. Okay, so 6 adds 8 units. I always just put the greater number in my head first, and then add on 6, so 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now, if I write the number 14 over here, that's a 2-digit number. I've got 1, 10 and 4 units. Can that whole amount go in my units column? No. In that number I've got 4 units, so my 4 can go in my units column. However, my 110 needs to go in which column? My tens column. So I'm just going to put that underneath there. I've exchanged my 10 units now for one whole 10. So I've got 5, add 3, which is 8 tens, plus this 110 gives me 9 tens. Okay, then I've just got my hundreds. 400s add 200s is 600. So my answer then is 694. When we're subtracting, we can also exchange here, but it's slightly different. Now remember what we said about you can't just swap these over, but we still always start with our units. We start with that whole amount first. So we've got 652, so I'm going to start with my units. I've got 2 units, so put 2 fingers out in front of you. Now can you take away 8 from that? Can you count down 8 from those 2 fingers? No, you can't. You haven't got enough. And no, you can't just do 8 take away 2. We've explained this lots of times. So what are you going to do? Hopefully you're all saying, we're going to exchange from the tens. So we are. So I'm going to take one of those 5 tens. So now I've only got 4 tens there. That's fine though. And that 110, I'm going to exchange that. I'm going to swap it for 10 units instead. So now I've got 1 10 and 2, which is 12. So look at that whole number now. I've got 12 units. Now can I do 12 take away 8? Yes. The answer is 4. Okay, and now I'm done with that. I'm going to move on to my tens. I've now got 4 tens, take away 2 tens, gives us 2 tens. Then 6 hundreds, take away 2 hundreds, it gives us 400. So our answer is 424. Well done if you got that. Okay, so you'll do it today then. There are 10 questions. So yeah, there's quite a few, but it's okay. I've not given you anything that you can't do. Again, you've got your blue questions, which you should all be able to do, and then you've got your purple questions is a little bit more of a challenge. Okay. Now, some of these you'll be able to do mentally in your head without doing any working out. That's fine. Just write the calculation down and the answer. But remember, guys, if you've not done any working out, especially if you need to, it makes it hard to work out where you've gone wrong if you make a mistake. Okay, so some of these you won't need a written method on, some of them you will, some of them you won't be exchanging, and some of them you will. Okay, so pause it now whilst you have a go, and then press play when you're ready to go through the secure it. Okay then guys, so here's your secure it. I've got 2 challenges for you. Again, I've got the blue one that you should all be able to have a go at, and then the purple one for that extra challenge if you want it. So your blue challenge then today, true or false. Kevin says, if I subtract 405 from 759, my answer is a combination of cards A, this one, D, and E. Okay, so we'll go through that in a minute. And then the second one, use the numbers represented on the cards below to complete the column subtraction. You can use the same number more than once. Find 2 possibilities. Okay, so have a go at that, and then when you're done, press play and we will mark through your do it and your secure it. Okay guys, now I've not got enough space to do or show you all the working out of each of those, but hopefully you've used the written method for a couple of these, and some of them you've done mentally in your head. These sort of first couple of rows, hopefully you'd have been able to do definitely those first ones there without any units in your head, without having to use a written method. You may have wanted to use the written method here just to be certain, but you could have also done that in your head. There was no exchanging needed there. For number 3 and 8, there was exchanging, so you may have done the written method for that. For number 4 and 9, there's 2 exchanges, and then obviously 5 and 10, you had greater numbers there. So well done if you got all of those answers right. Mark through them now. If you haven't, don't stress, it's okay. Just see if you can work out why our answers are different. Okay, I mean, there's every possibility I've made a mistake. it happens, so don't stress. Okay, well done. Okay, and for your secure it, so true or false, Kevin says, if I subtract 405 from 759, so firstly I'm just going to quickly work out what that is. So 759, take away 405. If I take away 400 from 700, that leaves me with 300. 50 take away nothing is 50, and 9 take away 5 is 4. So that leaves me with 354. And it says that the answer, which is 354, is a combination of cards A, D, and E. So that's 200 there. And then D is 550, sorry. Oops. There's 50 there and 40 there in E, which would be a total of 250 plus 40 is 290. And that is not the answer we got. Therefore, Kevin is false. Okay, so you should have hopefully said he's false. And if you've proven it by just simply saying that would have equaled 290 and the answer is actually 354, perfect. You may have also told me what it should have been. We've got C, that shows 300, and then 50, D, so C, D, and B would have with our 4 units. That would have been the right combination. So well done if you got that. So the purple challenge here, quite tricky. It's asking for 2 different possibilities, okay, and there's a few different ways you could have done this. So I'm just going to kind of think out loud how I would have worked this out. So we know that we're starting with 700 and something, and we're going to end up with 332. So starting with my units, I'm going to think of 2 numbers using these here. That will give me a difference of 2. Now, if I look at just my units numbers, I've got 2, 4, and 0. I could do 4 take away 2. Would give me a difference of 2, so that would be the easiest one. So I could just pop a 4 in there and take away 2 would give me 2. And then for my 10s, I've got to do something, take away something equals 3. So however many 10s take away however many 10s equals 3 10s. So let me look at my multiples of 10. I've got 60, 30, 40, and 70. I'm going to go with 60 because I can do then 60 take away 30 will give me 30, because 6 take away 3 is 3, and then 700s take away, well, I've only got one option to take away here, hundreds wise, be 400. So that could have been one possibility. 764 take away 432 would have given me 332. That's one potential answer. So give yourself a tick if you've got those. I'm now just going to delete them. You can use the same number more than once. I'm going to leave that 400 there because there's no other number I can put there because I haven't got any other 100 number there. Okay, so now the other thing I was thinking of to get the answer to is that if I have 0 here, if I put 0 and I've got nothing, oh, ignore me, I was thinking of I could then exchange something to make that into 10 to take away 8 to get 2, but there isn't an 8, so ignore me. I don't mean 0 there, but there is another possibility that we could have done. I could have still put my 4 there and taken away 2 would have given me 2, but then here the difference that we could have done was put 70, so my 7 10s there, and then what do I take away from 7 to get 7 10s to get 3 10s would be 40, would equal 30, and then I've still got my 4 for my 400 there. 700 to take away 400 equals 300. So well done if you worked out those 2 answers. I hope all of those different methods and things that we did there sort of came flooding back to you, and it doesn't seem like too long ago that you used those. Hopefully they were embedded, and hopefully that's just helped re-jog your memory a little bit on using all those different methods, and just hopefully you feel really good about being able to kind of come back to something that you haven't done for a while. Well done, guys. Thank you so much for all your hard work and math so far this week. Good luck with the rest of your week. Have a great week, guys. Bye.